Coming to you from the HagmannReport.com studio, located in the Keystone State, birthplace of a mighty nation, it's your host, Doug Hagmann.
Welcome to Hagmann. It's a Hagmann Report where truth can't be silenced. We're not going to be shut up, shut down, or otherwise engaged in, or gagged, I guess, would be the term. I'm so glad you're joining us tonight. I have a great show lined up for you tonight. That's right. Riding shotgun with me this hour, backed by popular demand, of course, is my good friend, intelligence assets, intelligence analyst, Randy Taylor. Remember him? In studio not too long ago. He's joining me from an undisclosed location, not that far from here, actually. How's that for a little teaser? That's right. Randy Taylor is with me, riding shotgun with me. Before I get to Randy, a couple of things. Folks, have you done this already? Have you gone to Wisconsin Christian News, subscribed digitally, and to the hard copy? Have you done that? I'm telling you, with the environment the way it is right now, we're going to be going back, I think, to the hard copy documents. That's the only way, in my view, where the truth truly won't be silenced. The old school printed version. I know. I'm a dinosaur, right? I have a day timer. It works. It's never been inaccessible due to network problems, and it's always there. Any mistakes I made are not, any mistakes that are made are mine, with a pen or a pencil. But that's why they make erasers. And but anyway, Wisconsin Christian News, what a great publication. And the other thing, too, folks, if you want to support a great cause, and I truly, truly believe in this, if you want to support a great cause, please contribute to Wisconsin Christian News over and above the subscription. They truly need it. All right. A lot of things in the news, and I'm going to bring Randy Taylor on with me to discuss what's going on. But I don't know how many people saw this, and I'm going to kind of open it up with this. I had this planned out. In fact, I had pulled this, but Eric the Tech, I didn't get a chance to this morning, or today, this morning, this afternoon. Everything was just so twisted. If you go to Conservative Treehouse, and folks, you can do this at home. I don't even have to put a link in there to conservativetreehouse.com. There's two issues here, two stories. One, there's it's a third of the way down. I think this might have been. When was this posted? Maybe yesterday. There's a picture on there of the press gaggle in the back on the south lawn between the White House and Marine One. Now, when we were in Washington, D.C., I was standing right in that very spot. And it's interesting how the press will take ladders, and you're talking about a very, very confined space on the south lawn. And so where the president comes out from the White House and stands in front there, and the press is stacked like maybe 3 deep and 4 deep and about 6 high. It's an incredible sight. And you know what? You don't even have to do that. I just thought that was a really interesting photograph, and compare that to the photograph that I had, but I didn't bring with me to the studio, of when I was there showing you that area. And of course, when President Trump walked out from the South Lawn, did not give a did not stop at the press gaggle. And it was really hot that day too. It was back in September. And the fact that we were able to watch aboard Marine One, and it was quite the sight. Let me tell you, it makes you proud to be an American. It makes me proud to be an American. And it's a whole different sight, I will say this, between Obama walking out of the White House and Donald Trump walking out of the White House. Say what you will. The other one, and this is particularly important, and I want to make sure everyone knows this. The FBI is blocking the release of the unredacted text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Every minute spent outraged at what Mueller did yesterday is 1 minute less. Bill Barr is being held accountable for what he's not doing today. Very interesting from Conservative Treehouse. Again, Judicial Watch is fighting for one of the more critical buckets of declassified documents from within Spygate. This is so important for people to understand that, and there it is up on your screen. This should be front and center of everybody's radar, at least in my view. You've got Judicial Watch, by the way, doing things for Americans that our own Justice Department's not doing. But this particular issue right now, this goes to the heart of a 2-year-long contention. Why were these Page-Strzok text messages redacted in the first place? Why are there unredacted text messages being protected? And who benefits from all of this? I'll stop there. Folks, read it, go to Conservative Treehouse, and then Judicial Watch as well. But Conservative Treehouse, read this article. It's really critical that you understand what's taking place behind the scenes. And that also goes to the larger issue of, just the accountability issue. And will we ever see really what and who is behind the Spygate? Is there going to be any justice done, I guess, is my question. Will there be any justice? Are we going to see justice done? And with that, I can ask Randy Taylor, because that's been the subject of some of our conversations. Are we going to see anybody go down for this attempted coup? Randy, how you doing, my brother? You with me? Randy, are you with me?
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm here. Good. How are you?
Good. It's been a while since we spoke, and it's been a while now since you've been on air with us.
Yeah.
Anything new that we should know about?
No, not really. Just staying busy, watching the news, watching some strange things play out. This Epstein's suicide.
I took that 20 seconds. I put it on Twitter. I had a lot of people that noticed that. When you were here, you said, "Yeah, if he survives," you called it.
Yeah. Well, you knew somebody was going to go after him, but as far as him being dead, I don't think he's actually. I don't think he's actually dead.
Really?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't know. I just there's too many things there that are odd. I seriously don't believe that that he committed suicide. I don't believe that the highest profile prisoner in the United States was murdered in his cell. I don't see it.
I agree with you there.
If it was a deep state job, everything would be in place. All the pieces would line right up, boom, out the door, no questions asked. I honestly think he's safely tucked away in some sort of witness protection, and I think that it'll all come out, and I just, the heads are going to roll. That's. But seriously, I don't. What were the chances of us getting a visual on his body, his head, in the cell?
Meaning, are you referencing that picture?
In that photograph. Well, what were the chances?
Well, okay. My question is, show me the providence of that photograph. I mean, that's my issue. Show me. How can we authenticate the validity of that photograph?
I don't give it any credibility whatsoever. Do you recall years ago there was a murder for hire plot down in Florida, and they actually contracted Disney to create what looked like the victim in the trunk dead? Do you recall that?
Oh, wow. You're going back some time, but yes.
A lot of years. Just a lot of years. I'm 25 years ago, probably. So
at least.
It can be done. What I saw on the stretcher, as far as I'm concerned, if it was Jeffrey Epstein, he was sitting there long enough holding his breath to look dead. That's it. Think about it. If if indeed those 2 guards had screwed up, or 3 guards or whatever, we'd know their names. They'd be up on charges. He's safely tucked away somewhere.
Okay, then that begs the question, in your estimation, who's behind this? Who safely tucked him away?
Oh, Barr. Barr did.
All right.
Yep. He was down there apparently 2 days before his death, talking to him.
Barr was?
Yeah, I had read accounts of Barr actually having been there.
Okay.
So something like that high up. This guy was a survivor, man. Okay? He has everything in his favor. He could write his own ticket just to turn over to people that he had. I guarantee there's videos, photographs, there's things we may never see. I mean, he can look at the like that Andrew guy, Prince Andrew or whatever he is over there in England.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just, God, there's such a huge list here. And honestly, it gives Trump bargaining power.
But man, you and others are wearing me down on this. I've got to say this. I'm of the opinion that the deep state got to him. Basically, that's my thought.
No.
So now you're really starting to wear me down. Ordinarily, and I'm telling you this, ordinarily I would not even entertain this fact, but coming from you, and again,
the
folks,
witness protection program is pretty serious. They have the levity or whatever. They have the ability to do just about anything to secure a witness.
They do. That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But this to me just seems very clumsily done, though. If that's the case.
No, not really. Not really. Most people believe he's dead. Probably 90% of the population believe he's dead.
Yeah. I'm add me in that.
Mission accomplished. He doesn't ever have to show his face in a courtroom. He could stay buried the rest. You know what I mean? Who's to say?
Okay.
But this man has so much information. He's not dead.
All right. So
he's
okay.
He's too valuable. He was too valuable of a political asset, or is too valuable one.
Okay.
That's just my gut feeling. There's just.
Well, I've seen your gut.
Things don't smell. When things don't smell right. Well, I got a big gut. So
no. I've seen your gut do some incredible things, and your gut instinct. I shouldn't say your gut. Your gut instinct to do some incredible things.
I haven't since this story broke even entertained the idea of him being dead.
Okay. So
and trust me, I don't think Elvis is alive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not nuts. I just too many little things, and the photograph is really what pushed me over the edge. Is when I saw that photograph. Something else somebody had done too, and it was interesting. Someone had done an outline of his inner ear.
Yes.
And you got to admit, now over time, the face gets a little paunchy. His sun was his skin was certainly beat up by the sun. Okay, age was showing.
Right.
That's stress. But you can't change the configuration of your ear.
No, you can't. And one would argue in forensics,
you can with a hammer and a pair of pliers, but over time, that base configuration is going to stay the same.
Right.
So there's some things there that just don't sit right with me. And honestly, think about it. If he had been, he was arrested, and you were William Barr,
yeah,
wouldn't you protect the guy? Considering that you're talking about the majority of his play pals are Democrats.
Correct.
People that would try and sink Trump in a heartbeat. Basically, people that we've accused of being in the deep state.
Good point.
So I just honestly believe that he's safely tucked away somewhere. And right now he's sitting there probably having a beer and talking with prosecutors.
Wow. Okay. Now,
he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile pimp.
Yeah, yes, but he's
he knows
with the black book.
He knows name. He knows exactly. That's that black book
and video.
Think of the damage that can be done with that.
Okay.
Think of the good that can be done with it too.
Right. Now, so let's go with your premise that he's alive. That right. Barr had caused, not necessarily Barr himself, but the white hats had caused him to be ferreted out, and let's go with that. All right. So now what? Now is the intelligence that's extracted from the guy that really from Epstein is that just going to be used behind the scenes to?
That's what I would do. Remember, you and I had talked about what we believed existed with the Hoover files.
Right.
And J. Edgar Hoover used to run Washington from behind the scenes.
Yes, he did.
Period. Flat out. You can call it blackmail, call it what you want. At this stage of the game, if we have to use blackmail to get the Republic back, then I say use it.
I'm in agreement. Whatever
Absolutely,
it takes.
Right. We've got to take the gloves off. Everybody's been playing nice guy and all. We're in a struggle right now for the Republic. That's it. Plain and simple. Good versus evil.
Yes, I agree.
And I say take off the gloves and play hardball. And this, to me, would be part of that. Plus, we don't know internationally the implications here. We don't know, Andrew, of course, he's basically nobody in the broad spectrum of things. But it's still dirt on the royal family.
True.
Think about that. Okay, that's a bargaining chip. What if you had dirt on on Diana's sons? I'm not saying that at all. I think they're nice kids, but go down that line.
Okay.
Overseas, what if Israel was really involved in this? Because someone said at one point that he had ties to Mossad,
which I believe he had ties to a lot of the Five Eyes or the Western intelligence. Yeah.
There you go. And if he's a Mossad asset, you know that he's alive and gone.
All right. So
Mossad wouldn't, and the deep state may be good, but I don't think they're going to get past Mossad when they're on a mission.
Oh, roger that. Okay. All right. And again, this conversation is so great to have with you because I've been wanting to pick your brain on this for a long time, and our schedules just haven't synced up. So,
because I just can't see him falling on his sword. I don't see it.
Well,
the guy was a survivor. He built, 500. I think the last estimate was $577 million empire out of nothing.
Yeah, and remind me again how he did that.
He's like an inside trader guy. He managed things for people.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was a filthy pervert, but he's also very smart. And when in cases like this, you make deals with the devil. I hate to say it, and you got to admit, there's a lot of victims out there. He rewrote his will 2 days before he died.
Okay.
Nah, there's something else going on. And maybe he's agreed to, he rewrote his will, but we really don't know where the assets are going. Maybe they're going to go. Maybe it'll go to victims.
But you can only.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Epstein, we'll keep you alive. There's people who want to kill you. 2 things we want from you. We want to know everything and all the details about everything we seized from all your properties. Okay? And we need you to start doing retribution to your victims. And you know what? In the position he's in, he'd have to take the deal.
But we'd also have to have you turn over the damaging material, or at least give us the damaging material. I'll turn it over to us.
I think they already seized it. My concern with that is the FBI is like not an ally of the administration at all right now.
Right.
This crap we're seeing where they won't turn over unredacted text messages.
Re-up from page
What the hell are you
instruct.
talking about? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? That stuff, if I was Trump, I'd be like, stuff better be on my desk this morning. You understand? This is nuts. I've never seen anything like this. Direct defiance, you know what I mean, of orders from DOJ. I don't get it. They're all supposed to be on the same team.
Yeah, except we're not. Yeah.
No, things are definitely wrong here. That's why I say the gloves have come off. I think, and you and I talked about this last time I saw you, I think that get around the first of the year and after the first of the year going into election season next year, man, heads are going to start rolling. And people are actually going to have to admit that there's a problem on the Democratic side of the aisle, on the Democrat side, not Democratic. People, I keep saying that. It's not wrong. Democrat side of the aisle.
Okay.
The donkeys, those guys.
The former Democrat Party, which is now the Communist Party, in my view, anyway.
Yeah, they're so far left, they got to have bruises on the side of their body and their head.
This is why, folks, this is why I like Randy Taylor. Randy Taylor, in my view, one of the most, in a lot of people's view, one of the most effective intelligence analysts alive. And the things that he's done have been absolutely incredible. So this is why, when you say something like this, it's a lot different than reading a comment on a bulletin board or a comment on a YouTube video or a comment even on a forum that's politically based. Even if the person has got some juice in the media, you're coming at this from an intelligence point of view, being in that, having been in that world, in that environment, and you're saying, "Hey, wait a minute, hold the phone here."
Well, I've been laughed at before and turned out to be correct, so I just roll with that. I don't jump right out immediately and say something. You kind of have to sit back and gather evidence, as you will, and look at it for what it's worth. And I just and honestly, gut feeling is a lot of it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
a lot of times, the gut, my gut has kept me alive, and it's rarely let me down. So,
yeah, but
I'll go with that.
I have to say this: the former has been a lot more effective than the latter. I don't think in the letdowns. I don't think it's been of consequence, at least not to the level we're talking about. So, all right, and if this is the case, then the behind the scenes chess games that are going on have got to be just absolutely mind-boggling.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about it. You're going after, they're trying to bring down the deep state. You're talking about some serious people, former presidents, former CIA directors, former NSA people, FBI agents, people at DOJ. We're talking about this is a grapevine that is just long and deep. The tentacles of the deep state are incredible, and we get mocked for the deep state and conspiracy. They laugh at Trump about it. If you can't see the deep state, you're an idiot. That's pretty much the way I see it.
Of course,
there's no doubt that there's like a sub-government.
Yes,
and it's been that way for a long time. It wasn't just with Trump. It's been going on for decades and decades. You just have to sit down and look at who the players are and who the players were. It all eventually dies sooner or later.
There was an
article. Just want to know. We just want to know who they handed the files to. That's what I want to know. Who's got the files now?
Okay, now about that. When you say who they handed the files to, what are you referring to? You're referring to the Epstein documents, or
no? I'm going on a deep state. I'm going back to Bush Senior.
Okay.
There's the government gets run from behind the scenes. I don't know. It's disappointing, but it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed. And I say, do whatever you got to do to fix it. Play hardball, play dirty. I don't care. But people need to be locked up and put away. I'm not talking about they got fired from their jobs because they were traitors. I want to see them in jail.
Well, yeah, treason and sedition. Well,
Yes.
treason especially is punishable by death if convicted. So yeah, I want to see people strung up in my
But
view.
anymore it's a joke.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I mean, you know, at what time in my life did I ever remember people holding up effigies of a current president and stabbing it like a pinata? I watched some old lady on
I saw
Twitter
that.
doing that.
Yeah, can you
The only
believe
thing that would have made it better is if she'd had a heart attack while she's doing it.
You know, I watched that. It was a Twitter thing. Was that even in America? I didn't really dig deep into that because I looked at that and I thought, you know, here's a Looney Tune.
I thought it was California.
Okay, yeah, it figures. Yeah, it was just. Yeah, folks. If you haven't seen what Randy Taylor's talking about, it's a woman with a knife stabbing a pinata of Donald Trump. It's just, and
she's not real good at it either. I've seen little kids flatten pinatas with one swing of a broom handle. She must have stabbed that thing 50 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and still didn't get any candy.
Oh my goodness. The entire population, I think, of the never Trumpers, as we've identified them as, they're nuts. So okay. So where are we
something
headed?
else has happened since the last time I saw you. We had several shootings.
Yeah.
You know, that the timing on that is always bizarre. And then, of course, you'd see the reports of witnesses of multiple gunmen, and I don't even know what to make of that anymore.
Are you hearing anything on any kind of forums, any kind of back channel communications on the shootings at all, or are you not hearing anything?
No.
About that? Okay.
Nada.
Right.
No. Just weird timing. I honestly think that if they really dig into it, they'll find they've got Antifa behind some of this stuff. And the Democrats are trying to make Antifa like they're a Boy Scout group, you know, that are trying to bring down Hitler.
Right.
And that's just another perversion of facts by the political left. These people are dangerous. People that drag elderly people out of their cars and beat the hell out of them. You can't justify that. The beatings that I see, I don't know how anybody can justify them.
Why the police stand down on all these? Every case.
Because the mayor's taking orders from somebody. Why do people crap on the street in San Francisco? You know, I don't know, Doug. Our compass is broken, man. Our moral compass is broken.
That's
our
for sure.
decency compass is broken. We're just in some pockets of the country, we're just not even decent people anymore.
How sad that is, ladies and gentlemen. My guest is Randy Taylor. You saw him in studio here a couple of weeks ago, and I was so pleased to get him out of the shadows. He's a wonderful guy. He's one of the most effective intelligence assets I know, and this is my view. And I'm not, and I've worked with many in the during the course of my business, so I know what I'm talking about. And I've seen him do some amazing things. Now, having said that, like I said, we're just having a conversation about current events, and okay. So you bring up these shootings. Definitely, one thing that did concern me, and although eyewitness accounts are traditionally horrible, we've had, that's inside another, but experience tells you. But initial reports of multiple shooters in that one case, I think it was a Walmart case. That's pretty difficult to mess up. I mean, even the worst eyewitness, I don't know. So things are not as they seem.
No, and the one in Ohio, the guy clipped his sister.
Yeah.
He took it. Well, that was the one where I heard there were multiple shooters on the street.
Okay.
Now, I understand the police were firing back, but these people were dressed in black, according to the one eyewitness. And I don't know. You hear of it anymore in the mass shootings. You hear this. It's 75% of them. Somebody says something about additional shooters.
That's true.
And the drive is to disarm the people. And there's a big to-do right now since those shootings on that weekend that, that's brought Donald Trump under fire in, Congress and Senate. And it's got even the GOP base fighting amongst themselves are the red flag laws.
Is that their in-game objective?
I don't know. It could be. It could be. They've got Trump is a force to be reckoned with, and I know going into 2020 they're going to do anything. There's going to be more things like this to try and divide. I've watched on social media. I've watched a lot of the let's say one guy, Bill something. He's on Fox News every now and again. He's fighting with his followers. The guy that put up a GoFundMe page saying he was going to Washington, D.C. and ended up moving to Florida. Bill Michevelli.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Motor Mouth.
Right.
Yeah. He's actually fighting with his followers instead of focusing on stuff that he promised to focus on. And, he's fighting with followers over words. The red flag, I wouldn't even get into this discussion. Not right now.
Meaning, what discussion would you not get into?
The red flag laws.
Okay.
I
Because?
wouldn't start fights because right now we don't need to be divided. It doesn't matter what we say and turn on each other. They're going to do whatever they're going to do in Washington. Stay out of it.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
You're investing. Yeah, you're wasting time. You're investing. It's bad. It's a bad investment.
But that's been their tactic with everything, is to attack us and to divide us.
Right.
Which, but Donald Trump walked back, for example, recently via contact with the NRA, the background check expansion of the background checks, universal background checks.
Right.
So, but you're right in the sense, and I've been saying this all along too. Their goal is to disarm us, take away our Second Amendment, First Amendment, and then the Constitution.
The problem isn't, and people that say the problem is the weapons. The problem isn't the weapons. Okay, it's the hard heart.
Sure.
That's what kills people. The hard heart. If I want to kill you, I don't need a gun.
Right.
Bottom line. End of story. I've never seen a gun jump up and shoot somebody. Okay,
we have a
it's
people
ridiculous.
problem.
If somebody, we have a moral, we have a morality problem.
Right.
And we have a shitty parenting. Excuse me, forgive me for that. A lousy parenting problem.
Yes, we do.
We have doctors that have kids on every kind of drug you can think of, treating symptoms and not treating whatever the problem is. If they have ADD, then work with them. Don't just prescribe a pill and walk away. You've got these video games are horrendous.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And these are young kids doing the shooting. These aren't people in these schools and these shootings. Okay, these aren't 30-year-olds. These are kids, 15, 16 years old doing the shooting. Okay? Their little jar of beans isn't working right yet. You know what I'm saying? They don't have enough real-world experience. They're having trouble differentiating between reality and what that game is. They don't understand that when you shoot somebody in real life, they actually bleed to death, die, and it's a tragedy because it's a loss.
That's
But
right.
if all you've been banked in is video games, then guess what? It's just another player on the screen. Why? And because your parents haven't sat down and talked to you. We're messed up.
Oh,
100%. It's not the guns. If you take the guns from the good people, the bad people are still going to have guns. Plain and simple. Look at your cities. with the toughest laws. You have gun laws up the wazoo.
Right.
It's probably more gun laws that it looks like the IRS code.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just tons of them. It doesn't stop shooting. The hard heart kills. How did the heart get hard? That's what you have to get to. Plain and simple.
I think
when
we can.
I grew up,
Yeah.
Doug, I grew up, you came to school in the pickup trucks. They had rifles in the gun racks.
Of course.
I didn't have any, there were no school shootings.
That's right.
But it was a different set of morals then. And you cannot bring people in from other cultures where there's not a high value on human life and just dump them into society and walk away and think that there's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what's
The
happening
value
here.
on human life, you go to South America, the value on human life is zilch. It's zilch. You know what I mean?
True. Yep.
You think it's bad in a city in the U.S., try South America, okay? There is no value on your life. Now, you bring somebody like that up, it's just stick them in the community, and there's at a party, and there's some alcohol. You know what? They don't care about human life.
It's true.
Because you can't erase years and years and years of that's your culture. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
We're screwed up on so many levels, and then what we've taught these children that they could have been exterminated on a whim when they were in the belly, that their lives mean nothing. And then you get angry when they go out and kill a classmate.
Well, that's a pretty good.
Think about the liberals like, oh my God, he killed 15 kids. You know, go down to the abortion clinic. They're knocking them off faster than that. You don't seem to care. Plus, what's the message you're sending these young children?
True.
Human life has no value. We're a civilized society, for Christ's sake.
Listen,
You're
Milano,
saying
you
human
listen?
life has no value? We'll just exterminate them in the womb? God. Sorry.
No. You
All
know,
right, I'm going to step off my soapbox here.
No, please don't. Stay right where you're at. You stand right there because I guarantee you, Randy, you are echoing the sentiments of 99.9% of our listeners. And
I don't understand it, Doug. And you know what upsets me the most is, you know, we have vested interest in this country. You and I have given a lot to this country. Out of our own time, on our own dime. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I bet look at all the years I invested in this country. And then I sit here and I see Alyssa Milano tweeting yesterday about how she was glad that she aborted 2 children. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the career that she had.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? You just put a price on human life.
Exactly.
You just put a price on human life.
Yep.
You are morally deficient. Shame on you.
But
You will answer for it one day.
Yeah, but today there is no shame. You just said shame on you. Where is the shame in society today?
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, I think that we've just had too many generations of bad influence on children who have now turned into adults. And they're the generations behind us. Even some in our generation are screwed up, Doug.
Oh, heck yes.
I don't think the ratio is as high,
Right.
but they're screwed up. There was a time when there was shame to your sin.
Yes.
You know, I go back and I look at Bill Clinton. I won't pick on him for a minute. When he had oral sex on Monica Lewinsky,
Yeah.
and he says, I did not have sex with that girl. He set a trend in the country with young girls, I remember this, that oral sex wasn't sex.
Right.
He opened that, he set that substandard out there.
Right. I remember that.
Well, and it changed things. Things started changing. I remember distinct things in my life where things changed, Doug. I remember when I go back and I look and, okay, when did this start changing? When did that start changing? And I think where the first fundamental things went wrong were when we quit meeting at the dinner table.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that right there, when the family started to fall apart.
The old Swanson TV dinners and the TV trays and the television set, and mom working and dad working. Or...
and we went from it used to be mom was at home raising the kids, and that's a job. That's not to be taken lightly. Right. I think mom in those days, mom had a tougher job than dad ever did.
I agree.
I really do. Raising kids, keeping an orderly house, paying the bills, doing the grocery shopping, everything that falls on a poor woman back in the day. And you got them today doing the same thing, and they're working on top of that just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole, I remember Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
That's when that whole deal changed. And ultimately, you would have thought, okay, women going to work, this is great. These families are really going to have money now. But instead, what happened, the women got substandard wages, and you notice the men's wages went in reverse.
That's true. Let me remind you.
So at the end of the day, now we have both parents working and basically bringing home the same income.
There it is. Yes.
That was what dad was working and mom was staying home. Because price of living, cost of living, price adjustments, cost of goods, boom, boom, boom. At the end of the day, the ratios were exactly the same, except now you have mom out of the house too. Kids are raising themselves. And the schools are raising the kids.
Right.
Great. These people can't get through a day of teaching children anything academically, and now you're going to have them teaching them morality and standards. Yeah, let's run with that.
My on-air guest is Randy Taylor. Randy Taylor, of course, who was in studio a couple of weeks ago, folks, back by popular demand, and getting his take on things. And he's absolutely right. And don't forget too, World War II, when our men, our boys, were sent overseas, our women were put into factories, and it was really after World War II, subsequent to World War II, where that change happened, where as you referenced, the woman is out of the home. Yeah, Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs. Yeah, I note that as kind of like a bookmark in history. But you're absolutely right. And then of course the two parents, working family, kids at home, latchkey kids, and no oversight and throwing.
Or even worse, Doug, is the single parent.
Oh, that's yeah.
Trying to make ends meet and raise children. I understand where the ball gets dropped along the way sometimes in some of the discussions they should be having with their kids and all. But what are they going to do? They've got to work to feed the family.
Right.
They've got to work. They've got to work to come up with those insane premiums on Obamacare.
Good point.
Yeah. So I'm not passing judgment on parents solely based on. I think no matter what, you've got to make the time for your kids. I know I make the time for mine.
Right.
Doug, you've met my children.
Yes.
They're the good kids. But that's because mom and dad spend time with them.
I can
no matter how busy we are, we spend time, because one day when I leave this world, I want that moral compass to be passed down.
And I will say that you've got a wonderful family, and we need this. The absence of taking God out of the schools. I mean, you and I are Christians, and we don't necessarily wear it on our sleeves. I'm not a minister. I'm not a pastor. I'm just I'm a Christian, and I look at things through a Christian worldview. And you take God out of school, you take not just the shame, but the crime away from killing an unborn child, and make it normal. And you know what?
Yeah.
Look at what the hell they're doing in our schools with these drag queens. For the love of God, why are we allowing this crap?
I don't know. I've seen that more and more on social media, and I don't even understand how that would come into play. But when it's happening, what is it? I don't know if it's the teachers bringing them in. It's the school district endorsing this. I mean, that to me is way over the line.
Amen.
Way over the line. Way over the line. I even saw, what was it? Make-A-Wish Foundation. One of the wishes of one of the kids was to go to a drag queen show.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Now, and I said something to my wife, and she quickly corrected me. Okay, it's a kid with terminal illness wanted to go, and it was that RuPaul show. Okay, all right, cool. But couldn't you talk the kid into Disney or something? I mean, I don't know. I just, I don't know, man. You wouldn't even have heard that 30 years ago.
But see, how did that child? Okay, and this goes back to something you said earlier. How does that child even know about RuPaul? I just found out about. I thought RuPaul was some sort of an Indian dish. I didn't know.
I thought it was a candy bar.
Yeah, really. So
I don't know. I'm seeing the gay pride parades. Though I see this, and there's, you want to do your gay pride thing, cool. Go do your thing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm seeing small children, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, at the gay pride parades, and I'm like, really? Really?
It's child abuse.
My daughter's school has a gay club.
I'm sure you meant to say Glee Club.
No. Yeah, it's the Glee Club, all right. No, but listen, I understand that these things are going on. I got it. What I don't understand is the attention being put on it. Okay? There's always going to be gay people. I don't have anything against gay people. I'll be honest with you, Doug. Okay? It's not my life. I don't have to answer for their lives. I really don't.
That's right.
Okay? But I don't need to see it every time I turn my TV on.
Especially given the percentage. You're looking at a very small percentage.
And as they draw attention to younger and younger and younger and younger ages, okay, kids who often experiment anyway with drugs, this, that, alcohol, cigarettes, now have one more thing on the experiment table. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Why was it necessary to put it on there? That's something that, if they're gay, they will figure out on their own sometime during their life, probably with a friend, okay?
Right.
But why are we promoting? There's a difference between protecting. I will protect anyone. Gay, not gay, black, white, I don't care. If you're in danger and I'm there, I will protect you. That's my nature.
Right.
Okay? But why are we promoting these things? There's a difference between protecting gays and promoting gays.
Amen.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think there's something, even heterosexual stuff, I don't need to hear about it.
Correct.
Okay? Keep it in your bedroom. Keep it in the confines of your home, please.
Well, and this circles kind of back around as we approach the top of the hour. This circles back around to what you said earlier. You look at Epstein and all the things that he was involved in, and what we're seeing is the attempt to normalize the unthinkable and the abnormal, and the different. We are so screwed, man. I mean, if allowed to continue.
Did you see how fast that Prince Andrew came out with his rebuttal statement?
And others, God. By the way, yeah.
The body wasn't even cold yet. And he's already blah 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 blah. And all well and good, but the point is, you were hanging out with Epstein after he was a known pedophile.
Right.
That's the deal. plain and simple. I'll tell you what really upsets me. I've seen pictures floated around of Photoshop of Trump with Epstein,
Oh, I know.
and one where he's got his hands on a girl. That stuff infuriates me. And I think if you post shit like that on Twitter, if you post stuff like that on Twitter, you should be banned for life.
Oh no, they want to elevate you. They want to give you a blue check mark.
Yeah, but see, I don't understand. If you did that and you had Obama on there,
Yeah,
and you did it, you should be banned for life.
I agree.
This Photoshop is a dangerous thing, man.
Well, the CGI stuff that's absolutely. Pretty soon, you're not going to be able to tell, and that's why I look at that photo. I asked about that photo because, first of all, the Epstein photo, and I had Tracy Beans on yesterday. You know, can we, or the day before? I don't know when it was. Can we verify? I mean, how is that photo taken? Okay, how did that person?
That's what I want to know. How could, and Doug, why are there not more photos?
There
Trust
you go.
me, if I got that one photo, if that was me in there, and I got that one photo, I guarantee there'd be 5, 10 more.
Or absolutely.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Why was there just that one? You know what I'm saying? It was just enough to put into your mind that there's a deceased person here. It's a subliminal thing.
Very interesting.
That's all that photograph. That's all that photograph was. Epstein, he could be in Supermax, and with the price on his life, I don't think he's like in normal protective custody. You know what I mean? Where he's assuming a new identity. This guy isn't going to show up next door at your house as the new neighbor. Put it that way.
Right.
Not for some time.
So you're saying he's not in WITSEC. He's
no.
Okay.
No. Well, he is, but a different type. I think he's in Supermax out in Colorado, personally, or he's in Gitmo. Except at Gitmo, down there, I don't think you could get everybody to keep their mouths shut.
Probably not.
Too many reporters around there because of the Muslim prisoners.
True.
So Gitmo wouldn't be the place. I would say Supermax. Because out at Supermax, if somebody talks to Supermax, and you know what, I guarantee their cameras are working.
Yeah, and you're talking about Supermax, for example, like the one that housed McVeigh and such.
Yes. Where they're literally underground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is the type of protection you would have to have. I just can't see the deep state walking in the door and snuffing the guy. And I don't see for 1 second that he killed himself. The man was a survivor. Those type of people will lose everything. He could lose everything, and I guarantee he'd still be driving down the street in a white van with candy. He's a survivor.
Oh, the mental picture that promotes.
I know. That was a bad one, wasn't it?
Oh, my goodness. No, you know.
Sorry, I had to do that one to you.
But you know, you bring in kind of a good, dare I even say this, because I'll get emails about this, but, you know, the Hustler magazine, okay? Chester the Molester, you know, cartoon. Just the sick nature of that, but in the sick nature of what he did. So, okay, so what you're saying is, not traditional WITSEC, but Supermax, you know, sucking basically all of the info out.
I'm going to say protective custody.
Right.
And they're pawning this off, so even the deep state doesn't know what's going on. Bill Clinton's probably scratching his head, going, "I wonder if he's dead or alive."
You know, that was my other question to you that I wanted to ask you. You know, Clinton, Hillary, and Bill. I mean, to find out Hillary too was no big surprise, was involved in that the island visits. Given her. I
think that there's more children missing out of Haiti with the Clintons' name on it than anybody realizes.
And yes, thank you very much, folks. Don't forget Laura Silsby, 33 Haitian children, orphans.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops, not orphans.
Especially after a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, they wander into the 8-10, boom, they're gone. Wow. Their parents don't know. It was a disaster down there.
Man,
those children, I don't know how these people sleep at night. They're complete sociopaths, psychopaths, and I just say it's time to trim the herd.
I agree with you on that for a lot of reasons, and to my Christian
And I
friends,
say that as a Christian.
I do
Kinda
too.
hard.
I
What are we
agree.
handing down to our children and grandchildren? If these people aren't brought to justice, especially like in this with these Epstein
Right.
cronies and the people in those books, if they're not brought to justice, okay, these people continue and they get stronger because now they know that nobody's going to stop me. If the FBI doesn't bring me down, nobody's going to bring me down. That's why I think their day of reckoning's coming. I think that their heads will roll. Now, there's people on the internet that talk about the 30,000 sealed indictments. There's not 30,000 sealed indictments that have to do with pedophiles because Trump wants them arrested.
Right.
One, that's not Trump's job. Okay, that's the Justice Department's job. Secondly, most of those sealed indictments are related to other cases.
Thank you.
Ongoing in court systems all around the country at several levels of the court system. So the people that are pushing the 30,000 indictments for pedophiles, they're absolutely wrong. That's not the case at all. But there's probably not 200 of them
I agree.
that are exactly for that and related to anything that we're talking about. Most of those indictments on there have nothing to do with anything that's going on currently as far as the deep state. Those aren't deep state indictments.
Exactly. And if people understood how the system worked, they wouldn't be making reckless statements like that. The fact is, people
all they do is build up people's hopes.
Yeah.
This whole Q thing. You know, I want people to have hope. Okay, but please let's have reality too.
There it is.
And reality is there is going to be reckoning. The main thing is we got to keep Donald Trump alive. And we got to keep Donald Trump from being impeached for some ridiculous reason. I don't think they'll impeach him because then they get Mike Pence, and I think that scares the crap out of them.
Well, you know, I don't know whether you noticed this earlier today. The 25th Amendment, misspelled amendment, by the way, was going around because of what Donald Trump's, a couple of things he did, saying I'm the chosen one, but taken out of context about China and such, but also a couple of words that he's mungled or mangled, as I do. But anyway.
It's tough being human, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean,
if
my
you guys
gosh.
if they want to talk about mangled vocabulary, they want to go focus on Joe Biden.
Yes, exactly.
The guy doesn't even know what planet he's on.
No, Biden is kind of scary when you got Joe Biden out running interference for him. And that's pretty doggone scary. I got to tell you.
Absolutely.
Randy Taylor, I got to let you go. Actually, I'm over time on this. I want to thank you for joining me today, and let's ride shotgun.
I apologize for the Skype thing. I know you called me intelligent earlier. You wouldn't have thought that watching me try and get the Skype working this morning. So my apologies on that, folks.
Hey, no, you know what? No worries. I have a feeling this is going to your time here. I got a feeling will the Skype or no Skype. Yeah, you left a mark.
And I'm going
to
get you to tweet out. I've got Randy Taylor. I've got my name in there now, set up in Twitter.
Yep,
I'll make sure that gets over to you, so you can get out the correct Randy Trailer. Get my correct name out to Randy Taylor. But there's a bunch of Randy Taylors on Twitter, so Doug's going to have to clarify who I am.
And I will do that.
Give me some followers there if you guys want to listen to my thoughts and ideas and put up with some of my butt chewings that I hand out on Twitter. Then by all means, I think I've got a total of 4 followers now because I just set my account up.
Well, we will make that exponentially more, and I thank you for doing that. And yes, I will make sure that people know the real Randy Taylor. So thank you, Randy, and I guarantee you this is going to leave a mark. Don't be a stranger. And I have a feeling you and I are going to be doing a lot more together. We're going to be doing a lot more.
Hope to see you soon, man.
I'm sure we will. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report. That was Randy Taylor. Randy Taylor, a great friend. I mean, just a tremendous friend. You heard him, right? The passion, but the fact of the matter is, I remember, just real quick, and then we're going to go to next guest, Steve Quayle. Somebody referred, I'm not even sure if I should tell this story. Yeah, I guess I will. Somebody referenced a gentleman that Mr. Taylor was reporting to as Mr. Taylor's handler in the intelligence world. You want to see a butt chewing like you never saw before, don't ever call someone Randy Taylor's handler. I'll just tell you that right now, because ain't nobody handles him. Nobody. All right. That was Randy Taylor, as I said, and we're going to be doing a lot more together because we need to do that. With me now is just a great friend and a great brother, a great Christian brother, and a guy that I've got so much respect for. I can go on and on, Steve Quayle from stevequayle.com. And this is a guy that 25 years ago or 20 years ago or however long it was, it's like, oh, you're insane if you think, your toaster is going to be sending signals to some big data center, or your refrigerator is going to talk to you. You're insane. And yet he's been proven true time and time and time and time again. Click the video buttons, my friend Steve. You got to click the video button so I can see you.
Oh, yeah, I thought I'm on. Doug, I'm sorry. Am I on?
Yeah, yep. You're on. Okay, here we go. We got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Doug.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. And, it's interesting because things are happening so quickly. We're 22 days away from Branson. And people are saying, well, what's going to be different about Branson this year? Doug, I've never used a PowerPoint in my life. I have 100 cells or individual slides to go through, and I'm bottom lining everything.
Did you say 22 days? 22 days away?
22 days away. And so I want to share something with people. Please pay attention. I'm dropping clues, and here's why I'm dropping clues on my pictures of the day, my photos of the day at Branson. I'll even tell you this. I've divided. Thank God I have Daniel Holdings to help me with my PowerPoint, but I've been dividing up my PowerPoint and what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to be sharing the information I've gleaned over 45 years of walking in, I believe, my calling and anointing. And the word of the Lord to me, people have got to understand, the Lord spoke to me and said, if you will tell my people what's getting ready to happen, I'll bring the people to you that will tell you what's happening. God has never failed me at that. And in the last, I would say, 2 years, the whole gambit of all missing pieces in the jigsaw puzzle, Doug, of the information I have, the information I've shared with your listeners is coming together. So it's important that I stick to my PowerPoint this year. And that's hard for me to do because I'm not a linear guy. I'm not making excuses. But this year, I even have somebody in the front row at Branson saying, stick to your PowerPoint. I'll be covering the world of Majestic 12 and the Magi, a spinoff of it, the war that goes on literally in the secret, the most secret caverns of the earth and the most secret compartmentalized areas of the military. I was brought into this world, and for the record, Doug, I've never taken a paycheck from the federal government. I've never been an agent. I've never been on the field, and I've never done anything that black ops or special ops guys do. So I just want to make that clear. I'm not claiming to be something I'm not.
You just pay to have it done, right? I'm joking. I'm joking, of course.
Yeah. But no, the deal is that when I was setting up an expedition back in 2004 to go to the Solomon Islands, because I'd been contacted by a pilot, and I'll just say Marius, his whole name is on the internet and all over the place. I was making preparations, hiring the people, getting ready, pulling money together, and I was contacted by somebody who listened to me on Coast to Coast. And the guy turned out to be a 4-star general in Spec Ops. By the way, he sent me all of his military records, everything else, and he was who he said he was. God put him in my life for a specific purpose. And I want to share something with everybody. The reason I can't share what I know is because God has put a time frame on it. In other words, I'm saying this, I'm going to say it over and over and over, but I think when people come to Branson or live stream it, their minds will be blown. Nobody on the internet, nobody who claims to be Space Force, Space Command, super soldiers have dealt with what I'm going to deal with. Now, that's how important it is. I can tell you this, that in the search for around the world for the global, not only hieroglyphs, but ancient astroglyphs, an astroglyph would be basically any of the star patterns and things you see Obviously, Doug, you were at Branson when I showed the Mars glyphs and the
Yes.
Bolivian glyphs.
Yes.
Well, it's even gotten further than that. One of the most famous geologists, forensic geologists in the world, has been cataloging the different inscriptions on the ancient artifacts that he's found. And in the world of black ops, as the general call, and I'll call him what I used to call him. I used to call him by his middle name, Enoch. I used to call him Lazarus because of what God did miraculously to bring him back. And he asked me not to say that. Maybe you'll remember those days. But here's what's interesting. The symbols, all symbols are language. And most of us don't understand the importance of language and symbols, especially when it gets into the supernatural realm. When you understand that supernatural symbols and imagery is used to convey more than just a thought, but maybe a point of contact with that image that is portrayed. I'm going to be talking about stargates. I'm going to be talking about them in a way that no one's ever talked about them. I'm going to be talking about, quite candidly, what I've come to learn. Number one, I do not possess the ability at this point, now I should say that carefully, to identify where they're at outside of the ancient ones with spirals. But through the decades, and literally decades of my life of investigating the different presence of stargates throughout the world, I now have it put into context by a gentleman that the Lord brought into my life just recently, who's had 2 attempts on his life. I've seen the pictures of him in the hospital. I've seen the evidence, and this isn't a wannabe. This is somebody who is who he is and loves the Lord Jesus with all his heart. So the word glyphs, imagine this. Glyphs are a symbol with an inherent story in them that by putting the glyphs, finding the glyphs, and determining the meaning of the glyphs, it pretty much spells out the entire revelations that the book of Enoch, and there were 360 of them. We have fragments of 2 of them. There is one complete book, so 360 years, or however, that's as many years as Enoch was before God took him to heaven. He walked with God and was not because God took him. 2 men in history, Enoch, prophet, and also Elijah the prophet. So what we're going to talk about is that there's an intensive, and this is my presentation, so I want to get people excited because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that this information is not on the net. Obviously, I wanted to share it last year. I couldn't share it, and I know this sounds crazy because one guy, or let me not go there. The thing is that there's no time to debate any longer. And what's interesting, Doug, the Lord said, Steve, you don't need to be afraid of telling what you know, because I'm going to demonstrate to even my enemies that I hold the future in my hand, and they do not determine it apart from my will. That should give you shivers. So the Lord basically said, what you're going to say, Steve, is going to be made known. And I'm telling everybody this in the 3-letter intelligence community, 4-letter intelligence community, anybody, NASA, for instance, NASA, never a straight answer. But I want people to understand we do have a planetary defense force. So President Trump's recent inauguration, or not inauguration, but, well, kind of announcement that he's inaugurating that's just old news. And I'm going to be presenting, not like all the other presenters, I'm going to be presenting the firsthand knowledge I have in the historic context of what I was tutored. So I was praying one day and I said, Lord, you're going to have to help me, Lord. I'm just too dumb. And this isn't false humility. It's just I can't figure some of this stuff out. And the Lord basically just reminded me of Daniel, that he had to send an angel to Daniel to make him know, to make him understand. And so that's what I've been praying for. And lo and behold, a gentleman contacts me, never knew the prayer I prayed, and happened to be the guy that they tried to kill twice. And he said to me the exact words that the Lord had spoken to me less than a week before. Now, I'm not trying to supernaturally attenuate any credibility I have. I'm talking about Jesus. This isn't about me. But because, Doug, the lateness of the hour is so coming upon us, as I stated at Branson a year ago, the conference in Branson, Missouri, the word normal will never be used again. Nothing will be as it was. And when people say, what's the word the Lord is giving you for this coming year after Branson? It's this, and take it to the Lord. I say that, and people say, well, I don't have time. Well, fine. Then don't get mad at God when you find yourself in circumstances that you didn't have time for. But the thing is that by asking the Lord to show, no man can know anything of the things of God except through the Spirit of God. That's the Bible. And except God opens our eyes at specific times to specific events, to warn his people, to prepare his people, and ultimately to redeem his people who respond to his offer, God won't violate any of our free will. People argue if there is free will or not. That's for theirs. The most interesting part of, I think, this to people will be there has never been a presentation on stargates and astroglyphs. Good example of the astroglyphs is some of the real crop circles, not the ones that are manufactured. A real study of the astroglyphs are in Bolivia and on Mars. And by the way, it isn't Martian.
What's an astroglyph? I mean,
an astroglyph, okay. A glyph just means simply a symbol, okay?
All right.
Like you've seen crop circles, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Some of those are astroglyphs. If you've seen cave paintings where they show the stars, etc., if you've seen spirals, okay, and maybe we can get Eric or somebody put one up, the Norway spiral, put that up. That's a glyph. That's an astro, just means heavenly. Glyph means symbol. Okay.
All right.
Then I'm going to be talking about the underworld. And I'm not talking about the underworld from the standpoint of guessing or reading other people's stuff. This is information that has been directly delivered to me. And Doug, it deals with the life beneath our feet. And even now I'm trying to practice being more linear, okay? Various alien species of 130 that are known. The hostilities raging between different parts of our government. The archaeological find that changes everything. And I'm going to be talking about alien technology, all the way from Vimanas to advanced communication through stargates. Then I'm going to be talking about the war in heavens. And when the war in the heavens comes to earth, what happens? Again, this is something I've never done. And that's why I got to have somebody in the front holding up a white, here's a good example, holding up just a white page and it'll say, Steve, stay to your PowerPoint. I don't.
We're gonna have an over and under whether or not you stay on the PowerPoint. Wow. Okay.
Well, it's going to be pretty powerful. Now, what is important for people to understand, Doug, is that there's a stuff that can only be revealed in time, because within the context of understanding, we're now seeing, for instance, all of the video games. And for the record, I don't play video games. I think I played Pac-Man once, and I find people that play them, they get so involved in it, I just don't do it. And that's not a dishonest statement. There's nothing in a video game. I used to like pinball machines, but that's about it.
There you go. That's my speed. You and me, pinball machines.
Yeah. And that's a true statement. The thing that's fascinating to me is that now the time has accelerated. It doesn't matter if it's with the release of the Navy pics or everybody from different governments talking about the UFOs, the alien phenomenon, within the context of genetic engineering and genetic mutations imputed, CRISPR technology, transhumanism, all those words that now people can understand how a claim will be made that we were made by aliens. Well, I got to tell you something. If the aliens made us, they sure like to have sexual fooling around time with what they made, and that sounds to me an awful lot like the Greek and all the mythologies of the world that I've studied, that I've obviously written books on. And so, what will become apparent to people at Branson, when you hear Gary Stearman talk about his family's experience in reverse engineering alien craft, and he tells you the story about the crash of the UFO and the aliens surrounded by the military, pretty much, I don't know what they call it, cordoned off, and in the morning the craft and all the dead aliens are gone and all the men are asleep, I think you're going to be blown away. Or Gary flying, because he's a pilot, a very famous family, Stearman Aircraft, and all of his relatives were involved in, or the majority of his relatives were involved in the reverse engineering of alien craft. So the question that will be answered, I believe, to people's satisfaction is how even the earth glyphs, we'll talk about spirals, we'll talk about the activation mechanism for those gates. Now, here's something that's important. Not only is it technologically feasible to identify where the gates are if you know the technology, it's also feasible to understand how to navigate through the gates. I was teasing my wife the other night, and you know how she responds to my teasing. I said, well, Loretta, are you sure you don't want to go through a gate? And I got the infamous, the leftovers are in the fridge. I'm just kidding on that part. But seriously, I don't think people can even begin to understand the human mind cannot embrace the technology, the deception, and the supernatural entities that we're even now fighting, but that we're going to be fighting in the open, not in the invisible realm. Gary Cole has spent hours with Dr. Santilli, two-time Nobel-nominated laureate in physics, who developed an isodual telescope. And I think I've said this on your show, Doug, that the subject matter that's being covered in this Branson is unlike anything ever covered anywhere.
True.
It's one thing. It's there's just no look. I'm an investigator. I'm a researcher. Okay, I write about this stuff, and I can tell you this: that God has put His time print, His, if you will, palm print. God has put the palm. I'm trying to get my hand there. Palm print on the release of information, and even the Book of Daniel talks about that knowledge is going to accelerate. Sir Isaac Newton's famous quote that at the time of the end, God will raise up men, give an understanding of the end times amongst much clamor, slander, ridicule, scorn, yet God is raising them up. So here's the thing. The Branson conference in this September 13th, 15th, I think we have 200, between 200 and 300 seats available. The live streaming will be like any other. I am considering, and I don't know if I'll have time yet for putting those on live stream, putting my PowerPoint, and I don't know all the details, if every PowerPoint image is just filmed by the digital cameras we're having there, or it goes into the actual switcher, which they record. But there'll be some mind-blowing stuff. Obviously, even giving 2 minutes a slide and trying to limit myself to that, I won't be reading my slides, but it's just to keep me in an outline form. But everything that's in that slide is relevant, is real, is original to my presentation. Does that make sense to you?
Perfect sense. Actually, a very linear process there, Steve. Yeah. I'm proud.
Yeah. Hey, SQ, I should be LP now, linear process. and ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to be facetious. This is something so staggering that even Daniel, God bless him, I could not have done this power presentation without him, because he's the only fictional author who was writing about a lot of this stuff as shown by the Lord decades ago.
And that's important, Steve. I just want to let people know, this is not a simple task and this is not simply you being linear. This is a very complex, convoluted, pardon the pun, like a four-dimensional puzzle that you're putting into a linear format, and that's not easy to do. So
no, and I would say this: without the grace of God, and look, I believe giving credit to the Lord. I believe in always acknowledging Him. I quote the scripture: "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths." A man has nothing except he receive it from above. There's no claim to any of that. It's God, to His glory. Now, I want to say something, too. One of the things that's so unusual that is blowing my mind, imagine being tutored by a 4-star general over a period of 6-7 years, and then having someone who comes to the Lord Jesus Christ from a foreign government's spec ops, and he hears me, he gives his heart to Jesus, not because he heard me, but he gives his heart to Jesus a decade ago. He wakes up in the night and the guy says, "Steve, the Lord told me to contact you and tell you what I know. Doug, his information, and let's use this, his information on the left and the general's information on the right were brought together. Now, Nietzsche said an interesting thing, and the general warned me about this, and also his chief of staff. First of all, Nietzsche made a statement. He made this statement, and it's powerful, and I don't think most people understand it until they really pray for it. Nietzsche said, basically, when you stare into the abyss or the realm of no understanding, a realm so different and apart from yours, never forget the abyss stares back. Okay, that's the statement. So, well, when hell opens up, remember this, as you're sitting there peering into hell, or all this stuff, hell is peering back at you. That's why they could say, Paul, when the 7 sons of Sceva were trying to cast out demons in the name of Jesus, whom Paul preached, they basically said, we know Jesus, we know Paul, who are you? And then they beat up the wannabe exorcists, okay? That's in the book of Acts. So the thing that's critical to most people who want to know this stuff, and I'm going to say this, I believe that for the first time in the alien, I know there are UFO, I know there are New Age spin-offs, I know all that, okay? But for God's people, this is the first time that the weaving of all these things, by the way, that's not a Masonic secret anything, it's my attempt at here's the church, here's the people, but it's an interweaving of the information in such a concise and succinct way that all the pieces are put together for you, which also tells me it's a timing signal, Doug. It tells me that the time of their appearance is at hand. Everything in Ephesians 6, when you're looking at principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness in heavenly places, it's one thing to put it into what I would call a compartment. Oh, that's just all that stuff up there. When all that stuff up there and all that stuff down there comes up here, we got a problem. And Houston can't solve it. Go ahead, sir.
No. You put that very, very, very well stated. And I can't help but think of the teachings and the talks of Russ Dizdar talking about this very thing. I mean, Revelation 19:19, and what we're actually fighting. And man, I'll tell you what. I think people are going to be blown away. The depth and level of the understanding of the type of fight we're in. People, you know what, Steve? I don't think people have a clue. The average person out there, and I don't mean to use the word average, but the person that works 8 hours a day, maybe at a blue-collar job, rarely thinks of this kind of stuff because no one teaches it. It's not taught in the churches. But here's, in Branson, is a chance for what I would call an expedited way of learning about all of this.
Yeah, I would say this, and that's a good statement, Doug. It's like having an infusion. It's like literally getting an IV drip in I would say an encapsulated and a transformative manner. Because when you understand the nature, I want to share something. 1 week before the general would allow me to be allowed access to the information. By the way, I never signed a national security letter. I've never been anything that I possess nothing in my hands. And he said, you've got to pray and ask the Lord if, Steve, you can handle going through the looking glass. Well, I had a cursory understanding of the looking glass. Obviously, it goes beyond Alice in Wonderland. But it took Stevie into a land of wonders, okay? And the wonders, Doug, with as much as I knew, with as much as I had researched, everything that was in me thought, you can handle this. I was totally taken off guard emotionally, psychologically, and flabbergasted in the context of Steve, and I had to admit, Lord, I said, Lord, I know nothing. And that's when I think basically God began to not open the eyes of like any kind of occult symbolism or anything, but to really open the eyes of my understanding. And I came to the conclusion God, I don't. And I said this over and over and over, and I really did, with tears on my knees and heavenly pleas. God, I can't handle this. People around me knew something was going on, and obviously, how many people want to sit down and talk to you about what the coming, if you will, demonoplax, or the demon apocalypse, or the fallen angel apocalypse, or any of that stuff, even Christians. I mean, come on. The only time Christians even think of the cross is when they think that you tell somebody the truth. I have a friend in Mexico, God bless you, Jess, and he starts talking about Genesis 6, and I think the pastor's ready to go deep sea diving because he's ready. He can't wait to get out of there. The importance, Doug, of this information is this: if again the inference by God's word, and it's total, not only inference, declaration, that God's people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and not because God doesn't present it, but because they don't believe it. Whose fault is that? You and I both deal with what I call keyboard clucks, okay? And you probably have never heard me use that term before. It's a new Qism, keyboard clucks. They sit, and I won't use that keyboard. They sit and do this. Cluck, 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 cluck. Cluck, 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 cluck. I don't like you. Keyboard clucks. And I wish they would use that same intensity to seek the living God. Now, only they know if they're on their knees and letting their petition be known through the name of Jesus. God, help me to understand the days I'm living in. Because, Doug, everybody I know, to a person who is walking with Jesus, is battling things now they've never battled before. I don't know if are you getting emails to that effect too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, Pastor Langford yesterday kind of alluded to that to some extent when he was on with me yesterday. Yes, it's accelerating.
And how do I say this? It's accelerating in a way. If you understand what a burst transmitter is, in the old days you had Morse code. Then you had coded, whether it was the Enigma machine, World War II. Then you had all these cipher machines. You had all that stuff. You have a cipher, you need a decipher. But now you have packets of information, and what's the word I want? A form of transmitting intense amounts of data or information in small packets. There's a word, burst transmitting. But now we're dealing with quantum transmission and reception, where it doesn't go to your brain. And I'm talking about people who are seeking the Lord, and probably people who are seeking the dark side, where it doesn't go to my head. I have instant understanding in my heart, and I really do have one. So the point being is that we're moving from burst transmission, and I would say this, now we're in a continuity of heart transmission. And someone says, where is that in the Bible? I'll give it to you. When Solomon was told by the living God, because you've done this and because you've done that, ask of me whatever you will, and I will grant it. I'm paraphrasing. And Solomon said, Lord, grant unto thy servant, himself Solomon, a hearing heart, that I might discern this great a people. And then God rewards him, saying, because you haven't asked for the death of your enemies, riches, wealth, because you haven't asked for any of that, I'm going to give you all that. I do not believe, Doug, that for 1 minute, that if that was true under the law, that grace will not surpass that. Because in 1 Corinthians, basically, Jesus has made the wisdom of God to us. So there's going to come a time, ladies and gentlemen, where those of you who love the Lord, and I believe it's immediate, okay? I don't believe this is in the sweet by and by. I don't believe it. I believe it's at the point of contact when you say, Lord, I surrender. That's where that is going to come into your heart, where you're going to know that you know that you know. The old-time preachers used to say, you know in your knower. Well, I'm going to tell you this. It's not going to be in your knower. It's going to be a heart, I don't even know how to say this, a heartfelt understanding or a heart reception of some of the most complex principles in physics. One thing I'll tell people, you don't know the physics, and even we have Hugo de Garisser, who's in the world's ranking one of the smartest 3 or 4 people in the world. And his speech is going to be on deism. He's not a Christian yet, but he understands that the design of the universe implies a designer. And so he's going to be speaking on that. And we're going to have Michael Schratt, who's the aerospace historian. We're going to have Gary Stearman, who I mentioned before. Timothy Alberino is going to be talking about his new book, I believe. L.A. Marzulli, Chase Kletsky. And so we've got a George Knapp's going to be talking about, I believe, Area 51. And even that's pertinent, even more so. But I want to share something. All of the NASA flights, NASA flights that are going around over the country, up and down the San Andreas Fault, all over the China Lake Ridgecrest area, all up into Boise, Idaho, where the area around there has 12 active volcanoes, all up and down the Cascade region, all up and down southwestern Utah, where there are underground bases also. All the underground bases right now, events are happening. And as Doc, who you can go to my website, Steve Quayle, the alert section, and read what he's talking about, carbon pools pushing up the magma. And even today on my website, Doug, this is critical. This is critical. The lake, Walpett Lake, that's north of Mount Adams on my photo of the day today, and today's the 22nd, is showing you Mount Adams. Is it coincidence or divine appointment and direction that we've filmed? My film company has filmed every single volcano in 7K. The detail, nobody else has access to that, that film. It was a horrific undertaking, financially and just time-wise. But the thing is that there are events taking place. I want to draw everyone's attention to today. And Doug, if you will link to them, they're the two most important stories on my website today about the Cascadia volcano region by a lady who had disappeared. We tried to track her down for a year. Now she's resurfaced with a July 19th article. And it's so good that when the film crew was interviewing some of the finest, most detailed volcanologists and seismic people, geologists and everything, they all refer to her as the most realistic article ever written on the danger of what's going to happen in the Cascadia region, okay? We were there 6 months ago, and I'll have the trailer for you, and I'll have it for Branson, because I mean it's a powerfully disturbing, important thing when you know that when the event happens, 9 million Americans are at risk, and everything west of Interstate 5. This isn't Steve Quayle scaring you, This is what the most, I would say, well-researched writer to even detail that, Catherine Schultz, I think. And the thing is the volcanologists, the geologists, the seismic people, the people that are experts in underwater volcanoes, all point to her as being the most accurate, most succinct, detailed, if you will, chronicler of what future events will be like on the Oregon coast. Everything west of I-5. And oh, by the way, it's not just into the Oregon coast. It's up into the Seattle area too, and down into California. And then the question is why will not the government tell the people? And the answer is simply this: it's classified. It's totally classified. Even the amount of earthquakes and the magnitude of earthquakes are being orchestrated and downplayed. So what becomes important and imperative to people is to understand this all plays into the end time deception, because the aliens, obviously, and from my position, the book of Obadiah, a single chapter in the Old Testament, that key verse in that will, if God opens a verse, and I believe he will, he is now, if the God of heaven is claiming to the host of heaven, though you set your nest, make your abode, literally flee from my presence to the outermost parts of the universe, thinking you can escape me, wrong, I'm going to bring you down. Then the question is, where does he bring them down to? The book of Revelation tells us, to the woe unto you inhabitants of the earth, for your adversary, the devil, has come down amongst you, knowing his time is short, with great wrath. That's the wrath of the devil. So I'm hoping that people get, and if you have any questions for me to be more articulate, and I'm just telling you, it is going to be absolutely, how do I say this? Tumultuous.
Yeah.
Perilous. And so I learned early in I call it the red letter version of the Bible, the words of Jesus. Hawk refers to that too, God bless him. But the point is that Jesus said, if men's hearts failing them for looking after those things coming upon the earth, I think it's pretty problematic that, Jesus isn't kidding. He's not talking in parables. Go back to the general that tutored me in these things. And when I say tutored, I mean over a period of years in such a way that I believe he was a gift from heaven to me and saying to me, and answering the call to me, even to other generals going, why do you spend so much time with quail? Interestingly enough, his answer was, I asked him that. And he said, because I know what God's plans are for you, and I know what you need to know to warn his people. You warn them, Steve. If they don't listen, their blood's on their hands, not yours. Go ahead.
Wow. There's like 15 different directions the 15 different things I want to ask you. I guess building on that, are we looking at, when we see, I'd love to be able to look into the future and just see what is, what is just ahead. Maybe not.
Well, I think I'm I think I'm trying to give that to you.
Right. And I know you are. But having said that, why aren't more people talking about this? It seems like we're just so many people, whether it's in the pulpits or in the news. This is, to me, is like the most important topic or series of topics you can address, and we're talking all around it. What's the fear?
Underlying motivation.
Yeah.
The underlying motivation.
Yeah.
Number one, they're scared. Okay.
Right.
Fear silences them. And I'll be blunt with you. The mega pastors, they want the people's money, and the people should be using their money to prepare for what's coming. True. Just Doug, before I went on your show, there it is. And just before I went on your show, I got two different scientists and people who are in the know sending me emails. One said, remember, Steve, to remind all the people, everybody's eating last year's crop this year. This year's crop is a disaster. What do they eat next year? One of them also said that based on the climate modeling of some of the most powerful computers in the world, that the northern part of the United States is going to have absolutely phenomenal low temperatures. That's not good. I live in Montana. The coldest I've ever been in Montana is 60 degrees below zero. I think it was 1988. And the wind chill got it up to 80. Now, people who've been in Antarctica and the poles know what that's like, and even Alaska to some extent. But understand, Doug, that once the demand for food increases with the lack of food being on the shelves, you're going to have not only hunger, you're going to have a complete breakdown of law and order. You're going to have the law of the jungle, which brings me to a prophetic word given 25 years ago. And I'm not a prophet, on talk radio. Newsweek is basically, and it's on my website, stevequayle.com. You should link to this one because it's talking about perhaps we should take another look at cannibalism.
Yeah.
One of the things, seriously, and Eric can grab it. It's on my website, and I'm not trying to direct him at your expense, but I'm just saying this. One of the things the general told me, he said, Steve, if people understood how many flavorings, seasonings, and additional food additives are based on human flesh, human cells, human blood, and human, I would guess you'd call it just byproducts, they would not even basically be able to hold their stomachs. Now, some would. If you're on Hollywood, you go, oh, just another feast with the devils.
Another Thursday. Yeah,
another Thursday. But the point is that the modification of the human genome, this is why it's so important. This is why the Bible goes so extensively into, if any man be in Christ Jesus, that means you repent, you ask Jesus into your heart. Jesus comes into your heart by the Holy Spirit, lives within you. Your body becomes a temple of the Holy Ghost. You become a new creation. This is why you have to be a new creation. One lady wrote me and said, well, I didn't really believe you about all this stuff, but when I went before the Lord, because I thought I was of pure blood, the Lord said, there is no such thing. Only as people become recreated in me does their bloodstream then change from what it was as a transmorphed, if you will, human stuff. In essence, without Jesus, it's not that we're dehumanizing people. We as humans are dehumanized. Does that make sense to you?
Very much. And it puts it in perspective as well. And we can apply that same concept, that same tactic, or the same tactics to everything that we're seeing. I don't want to get too far afield here, but when we talk like last hour and other programs, when I talk about the normalization, for example, of the perverse, and how we've seen in such a rapid period of time, Steve, the normalization of pedophilia, for example, or the attempted normalization thereof. And as you mentioned, it's now with that CNN guy eating the brain stuff. I mean, it's right. Like everything is just happening so quickly, and everything it's just so perverse. Anyway, but yeah.
Well, it's not only perverse, but remember, one of the most important episodes of the Twilight Zone is you've got this tall, giant alien. By the way, comes to Earth. People are fawning and fainting over him, and he's got answers for incurable diseases. He's got answers to climate, and everybody's just signing up to him to take him back to his planet. I think it's called To Serve Mankind.
To serve man.
To serve man. And interestingly enough, you look at that, it's really telling and compelling, because the common thread of what's under the ground, giants, reptilians, all the different alien forms, there is a lust, a consumptive lust for human flesh, okay? So at the end of the Twilight Zone, somebody finally figures out in the glyphs, or in the, if you will, alien language, that to serve man is a cookbook, a recipe, how to prepare him for ingestion. Now, I want to make this clear. In the years I've been writing about giants, 4 decades now, and the years I've been researching this stuff, that's almost done into 5 decades. Doug, I'm telling you what, that is a shudder in my life. But the point is that the introduction of cannibalism to the human race wasn't some prehistoric Neanderthal running out of mammoth meat, so he thought, she's dead, I'll just eat her. Nope, and I mean that, to feast on her flesh. It was introduced by the offspring of the fallen angels and earth women called giants. The disembodied spirit of the giants become the demons upon the earth. So there is now an appetite for there's a hellish appetite for human flesh. So when you have openly people like the most famous rock stars, Katy Perry, by her own words, it's the ultimate meat. Well, isn't it interesting that ultimate taboos and ultimate meat meet together in cannibalism? And listen, one of my favorite directors, when he directed Eyes Wide Shut, okay?
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, thank you. Stanley Kubrick, when he got into he was told that he was going to show the cannibalism and the pedophilia. Within 1 week after he was warned, he was dead. That's the reason Kubrick was murdered. Now you see Epstein, okay? You see it all. This is a fallen angel plot. And, when I say fallen angels, I'm not talking about little fat, chubby things with wings that everybody puts, not everybody, but the
cherubs.
People who think cherubs, that's not even what a cherub looks like. The point is that we're at a time now where that which has been hidden is going to be revealed. That which has been, how should I say this, held back by the grace of God the Illuminists, the Satanists, the globalists, they are the ones that have to open the gates that God shut. And that's why Satan could tempt Jesus, saying, all the kingdoms of the world have been given to me, and I'll give them to you. You know, that was before Jesus conquered death, hell, and the grave, and took that title deed to the earth back from Satan. But he's using fallen people to do it. And so the total eradication. See, I think this is a big deal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a parent, a grandparent, or a great-grandparent listening to this, and let's say, because beyond a shadow of a doubt, what I'm telling you and warning you is true, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and God's been given dreams and visions. I mean, there are children learning to talk at 2 years old. And even before that, this is fulfilling some of the prophecies in the book of Esther and some of the books that most people don't know exist in the pseudepigrapha. Is it the word of God? No, but can somebody writing an actual headline of yesterday, 6,000 years ago, be accurate? I would say yes, within the context of their ability to define within their speech. So this is why it's so critical. In essence, and I'm not doing this, so you can take the title, Cannibal Nation. We are turning into a cannibal nation. Our debt is cannibalizing the capital built by previous generations. We are into the quadrillions of dollars in the realm of derivatives, and most people can't count that high, okay? Quadrillion. A quadrillion is a 1,000 trillion, just as a trillion is 1,000 billion. So where are we at in God's time frame? All I can tell you again, Doug, I believe, and I don't know what holds the future holds. I just know this. In praying, Lord, what word do you give me? Prior to Branson last year, you heard it. You were there. I said it on your show.
Yep.
Months and months repeating it. After Branson, everything changes, and the word normal will no longer be effective. It'll never be used again. The word normal is gone. Everything is abnormal. With the abnormal or against normal comes, I would say this, the improbable and the impossible and also the perverted, okay? Because the book of Jude was the fallen angels to pervert the seed of Adam and Eve so that they could ultimately destroy those who would be recipients or the heirs of salvation. And that's basic Bible from, let's say, the Old Testament to the New Testament in pretty much one sentence.
Steve, one thing that I'm glad I've had the opportunity to see when I stand back and I look at your works, whether from the giants, the Nephilim, and then of course, all of your works across the many books you've written, whether it's about the Xenogenesis. I'm trying to think of the other ones
Terminated. Terminated.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting to see how you've released information. It's almost like there's
a timestamp on it, Doug. There's a timestamp.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, too, to see your work and others' work coming together, but even more so, the information that you've imparted through your work, the biblical imprimatur, and I use that with caution, but that biblical, stamp, like, okay, there's this, it all matches together. And boy, it answers a lot of questions. So I just marvel at this.
Well, and again, I think, Doug, that the most important thing at the end of the day is, are you, ladies and gentlemen, prepared in that realm in the realm I'm talking about? Do you have peace that you know Jesus and whatever comes? And by the way, Doug, should something happen to me, I'm going on record as saying this ahead of time. I don't believe it will, but if something does happen, the reason I put it into PowerPoint is this. Someone else will be able to deliver it and not lose any cogency or any train of thought, okay? So I'm really serious when I say this. If this is my, I guess you'd say, if this is my last testimony that, and I say this all the time, and I'm not trying to rush the reaper. As a matter of fact, I'd like to blow the sucker away, okay? And the resurrection has already done that for me. But the thing is that you have to understand, we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, there's a last time you ever hear me on the radio, and some of you can jump up and down, give parties, go drink the latest beer. I don't care. But there is also a last time when there's a last Hagman. There's the last time when there's the last interview, or the last time that David Langford preaches the word of God to you, or any of the people get to warn you, to try and prepare you. And the thing is, Doug, is that when the people talk about the last days or the end days, I'm almost, I'm uniquely cynical, okay? Because they take it with such a grain of salt. Oh, well, I'll give you a good example. One group of girls, they have a Bible study, and they say, well, you know what it is, the end of the last days. Oh, by the way, tomorrow I get my nails done, and tomorrow, did you see Sally's shoes? Hey, Sally's going to be barefoot, and it's going to be great if she can keep her feet from freezing as the temperatures drop in this part of it. I mean, here's the deal. Here's a word I want to make. Or here's where I'm frustrated. Maybe you can help me here. Knowing all these things, the scripture even says, how should we then live? Do we want to live as keyboard clucks?
Good point.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear what Doug Hagman and Steve Quayle said? Or let's call it what it is, the gossip board. This is a better weapon than a .338 Lapua Magnum with a Night Force scope on it when it's used as some of these, some of these people don't understand that the keyboard will testify against them. And I don't know if God does this on the day of judgment, but I don't know if God just in the heavens before them writes, Mary, and please, if there's a Mary Sue, this isn't aimed at you. I'm making this up. Mary Sue. I don't know about all this Jesus stuff. I'll just stick with I'm a good person. The Bible says there are no good people.
Exactly.
All have sinned. And as I told you, the word good, give it up. There is no such thing as a good Christian. You're either obedient or you're not. You're either an unbelieving, professing believer or a believing possessor of the Word of God. So get off it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one standard to all Christians. His name is Jesus. And those who are ashamed of his name will pay the eternal price, because when you stand before the Lord and say, Lord, didn't I do this? I know I went to church, God. I mean, I baked cookies, Lord. Lord, you know when I gave a $5 offering to that, I mean, seriously, we've gone from the ludicrous, I would say this, in the religious community, to the insane. When you see people openly denying the Lord Jesus Christ and saying, I repent of being a Christian, like two of the biggest names I guess, do. So what do we see? For men will give heed to seducing spirits and departing from the faith. Having a form of godliness, but denying the spirit thereof or the power thereof, from such turn away. So, Doug, I want to leave this with your viewers today. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go to gen6.com. If you can't be in Branson, sign up for live streaming. Order the videos, because you're going to have, and I believe this, and this isn't just a teaser for the next year. If there is a Branson, who knows? I think after Branson, within the first 60 days, we'll know if there will be another one.
True.
Here's the thing. I don't have a guarantee of tomorrow. Neither does anybody watching this. So I take the scriptural admonition to heart. Seek the Lord while he may be found. His name is Jesus. And to all those of you in the highways and the byways, the outback in Australia, the steppies, wherever you're at, in the Caribbean, in Australia, in South Africa, in China, in the North Pole, Antarctic, and even those of you who are on Cydonia base and other bases that most people don't even know exist, this is your message. You can be redeemed. And remember the thing in Obadiah, one chapter in the Old Testament. Though you set your nest amongst the stars and think you're going to escape the judgment of the living God, you're not going to do it. But you can escape an eternal separation from the living God through his son, Jesus Christ. Doug, bless you. Thank you for letting me come on today. It's gen6.com.
Yeah, Steve, before I let you go completely, I want to just remind people that you and I are going to be hosting a dinner for those people that have helped this platform. You know who you are by now. If not, Doug at HagmannReport.com. In fact, Eric and I will be sending you out information, additional information here in the next day or so. But you know who you are. So it's going to be fun to be with you at that as well.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we still have a few openings. The deal was, we started this, I don't know, about 8 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That will donate $1,000 to the Hagmann, to Doug's report. You will be invited, and Doug's hosting the dinner, and I'll be one of the speakers, and Doug will. And this isn't the same information I'm presenting at Branson, and I'm just telling you this. This is our way of saying thank you. It's $1,000. You have to send it to Doug, let him know, because we have to know by the end of next week who's going to be there to secure the location.
And I have gotten your emails. To the people who've emailed me, I've gotten your emails. In case you haven't gotten mine, don't worry. It's all taken care of. Eric has been on top of this. I've been on top of this. But we're really looking forward to really fellowshipping with everyone. And thank you for your support. And you know what, Steve? I want to thank you for having the courage to go out there and to put on something like this. You know, it's, I got to say, you have a lot of faith, a lot of money invested in this, and people might think, well, boy, this is a cash cow for you. No, it's not, man. This is really a labor of love to get the information out to the people. It really is, and I want to thank you for that. So.
You're welcome, Doug, and God bless you. I think this year is truly a transformation point, if you will, a jumping of the intellectual space from where you may not have anything here, where God's going to give you an instantaneous understanding, and you're going to get that aha moment where it all fits together.
That's right. All right, my friend, we will talk again. Thank you for your gift of time. It was so great just to have a conversation with you tonight. So thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
Bye, Doug. See you in a couple of weeks.
All right, 22 days, folks. 22 days to Branson. I remember when it was like a year. I mean, 6 months. Yeah, Eric the Tech. Can we do what we need to do in 22 days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You say that like with authority.
We're good. We're on it.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be sleeping in the next 22 days. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, folks, what a great program today. And I want to thank you so much for joining me and, of course, Eric the Tech, Randy Taylor, and Steve Quayle today. What a great program, I believe. Watch carefully. And by the way, just so you know, okay, because I get emails saying, well, Hagmann, you're a shill for the Zionists, you know. Don't you know that Epstein's not dead? Don't you know that Epstein's dead? Don't you know this or that? You know what? No, I don't. You know why I don't know? I don't know anything. That I'm open for certain things, and I might now. Let me tell you, I don't have such an open mind that all of my brains will fall out. Okay. However, you know, you have to look at things with a little bit of a given the lies that we're told, given the stories that we're told and expected to believe the official narratives. You know, you can't believe everything you hear or see. So the conversation that we had, that Randy Taylor and myself had about, hey, Epstein, you know, it's very possible that he could have been swapped out or taken out on behalf of the good guys. Now, does that mean that he's being, you know, ferreted into a WITSEC program for relocation to, you know, Nebraska? No. Perhaps it means that he's being held and milked for the intelligence he can provide. Either way, we know that what God has made good has been perverted by man, including Epstein. What laws that were made that were intended for good have been perverted by man of late. And God's laws have been perverted by man. It's an incredible time to be alive. That'll do it for me tonight. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I want to thank Steve, thank Randy Taylor. Tomorrow is going to be an equally interesting program. I've got a lot of great information to really bring forth to the table tomorrow. May God bless each and every one of you. Have a good night.